Welcome to the Onstage podcast, where we interview musicians and members of the entertainment community. Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching. Tonight's podcast will be based on podcast, believe it or not. Who we have here is Franky Corcoran, who's a playwright, an actor, director, and podcaster. And he started his own entertainment company, Corcoran Entertainment, in March 2021. And he hosts a weekly podcast, the Corcoran Entertainment Show, which I love. We'll link that down below. And he has shows every Tuesday on all streaming platforms. Is it still Tuesday, or have you changed the date? And you didn't give us
Still
the memo.
Tuesdays.
Okay.
Yeah, no, still Tuesdays, and it's actually the Corcoran Entertainment Show.
Corcoran.
You're not the first person to do that. Many people do it all the time. It's all right.
Oh, should we start again?
Up to you. Don't matter to me.
Everyone, another blooper, the little blooper reel. Next to, I'm having a great discussion with another artist, and my cat comes, whoa, right like an hurricane, wrecking everything. I kept that one.
Oh my God, they're all the best. I'm like, the way I see it, podcast bloopers, you know, some of them I'm like, I'd rather keep that off, but then there's some I'm like, nah, it's too funny to not include. Like if there's someone in the house who's like, what are you doing, Franky? Your dog did something. Oh my God! I'm like, okay, maybe I'll clip that out. But if it's something like, I don't know, like I dropped something or something like that, I'll normally keep it because, you know, it just shows that we're not all perfect. You know what I mean? Like mistakes happen, and sometimes, you know, I mean, especially me coming from theater. Show must go on. You just keep it going best you can.
I understand that. Everyone, this is the best guy to talk to because it makes you feel comfortable and confident, and you can do whatever you want, and he won't, make fun of you, right?
I won't. Once we're done recording here, I'm gonna like bully him.
I won't do love that. I love it. Corcoran Entertainment. Everyone.
That's it.
Franky Corcoran is a playwright, actor, director, and podcaster who started his own entertainment company, Corcoran Entertainment, in March 2021, and he hosts a weekly podcast, The Corcoran Entertainment Show, with new episodes every Tuesday on all streaming platforms. Love it. Excellent. Pleased to meet you. Welcome to
pleasure.
the Onstage podcast. We're so happy to have you here.
Yes, thank you very much. It's great to be here, and great to hear that you're doing well. We were supposed to do this a little while ago, but you got hit with COVID, if I'm understanding correctly. The word that we don't hear too much. This little small pandemic that, you know, shut down the whole world. You know.
I know, and I'm not really sure whether YouTube is going to have an issue with that big C word because every time I'm watching someone's podcast, they bleep out everything from the F word you would expect, but words that I've used that they bleep out that I had no problems with, words that I've used on my podcast a year ago, I still have the video up. I'm not getting any messages from YouTube saying that, you said this word, and we have to demonetize you or something. But you're watching a video and said, you, and then suddenly beep, 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 and like, why? Like why? Why are you bleeping out?
It makes no it's like, look, it's like, I get it that, like, you know, we all lived through COVID, and you know, I can understand why there might be like okay, you know, happy times, we're past the pandemic, let's just not talk about it. But so I can see that side of it, but the way I see it, I'm like, it's just a word, you know what I mean? It's like, we talk about things in history, like, you know, we talk about 9/11, we talk about like the Holocaust, like that's just part of history. That's the way I see it personally. Some people might think differently, but that's just how I see it. It's part of history now. We lived, and it's different probably because we've all lived through this now. Like literally, we didn't live through the Holocaust, and all that other stuff. I was 2 years old when 9/11 happened, so I wouldn't remember much about that. And now, especially with social media, that I think that's the big killer there. Social media is so, you know, you can go on someone's social media account from like 25 years ago, or even earlier than that, because social media wasn't that important then. But and find, oh, they said this back then, and it's just like, yeah, so They said it that long ago. We were different people then, but it's weird. Social media and the internet is a weird thing, and like it definitely is. It's got its perks, but you know,
I like this guy. Well,
I,
since you're before we go back to talking about being a theater director, actor, writer, whatever made you want to get into specifically theater?
well, there were not really one in particular thing that got me into it. Well, basically, I mean, like I've always kind of lived my life like on the stage. Like I was always interested in doing stand-up comedy and stuff like that. I've never actually considered pursuing like I used to do stand-up comedy routines for like family gatherings and stuff like that when I was, you know, really young. It was terrible when you look back on it. Back then, I'm like, oh my god, I'm like Carrot Top, and now I'm like, oh god, that was awful. But so I've always kind of lived on stage, and I didn't really start doing theater and stuff like that until high school. Actually, I was just kind of, you know, nervous. I didn't really think this was something that I'd want to do. But then I started doing in high school. I auditioned for my first high school play in grade 9, which was Peter Pan, and I played
Mm.
one of the pirates in it. And it was a small part. It was like a couple lines here and there, and I was just there to, you know, cause mischief as the pirates do in Peter Pan. And it kind of just went from there. And I mean, like, you know, went all the way through high school, and my uh the parts I got would just get bigger and bigger and bigger as it went on. And then after graduating, I stuck around. I still do lots of community theater with a lot of people who I worked with in high school and stuff like that. The people who are still around, and not just with them, but there's all kinds of community theater troops around here where I live. And then COVID hit, and then once COVID hit, I mean that or the beep. Sorry, I didn't mean to say. I said a word I should have said. You can bleep this out, but once the pandemic hit, then I didn't have theater anymore. It was really weird. It was like I was just so used to one play's done, jump to the next one. One play's done, jump to the next one, and I didn't have that anymore, and it was real weird. So we were all during that downtime, we were all just trying to find ways to keep busy and to keep, you know, because of course everything that was going on in the world, it's so scary. Like we didn't know anything about what this was. So that was when I took it upon myself to just find something to keep busy with. And so I started taking some playwriting courses. One in particular was taught by amazing screenwriter and playwright Paul Pedito. Shout out to you, Paul, if you're listening to this. He's been on my podcast a couple times before, and after we wrapped the courses, he and I stayed in touch. He gave me the contact information to his brother Christopher. Shout out to you as well, Christopher, who is also on my podcast. I'm getting everybody on, and he theater director. He is the artistic director of the River Rep Arts Center in New York City, and he was also a producer at HBO and just, you know, big leagues, working with the big shots. And so started working with them over the course of the next year, like just, you know, sending them scripts and yeah, and you know, calls and stuff like that, and uh learning about the craft, really, because I mean, having done so many plays, I've always had ideas, but not just one of those things of I have an idea, I don't know if this is ever, like we all have this idea sometimes that, yeah, but I would love to make a movie, and then it just never happens. We just you brainstorm ideas and just say how cool would that be, and then next day you forget about it. But and so yeah, that's kind of where we started. And then next thing you know, March 2021, I launched Corcoran Entertainment, which is my own theater company. I still do lots of other community theater on the side as well, but this is really something that I'd never anticipated in my wildest dreams, that I would be doing this, especially like way back when I first started doing high school drama. Did I ever think I'd be having my own theater group? No, never. I never would have thought that in a million years, but here we are. It's interesting how that works, eh?
Yeah.
So
So
yeah, that's kind of how I got started. Yeah.
yeah, that's amazing. So how difficult it is to write scripts, especially plays, I remember writing a play back in high school, and the drama club that was actually taught by old instructor Mr. Kerwin. My script was based on a guy going out to get a job, and he was actually forced to get a job. And it's just a whole kind of like a Monty Python type thing, but it never went to play actually because I don't think they tossed it out. So I've had things like that. Did that ever happen to you where you would submit a script and they didn't like it, or you had negative comments about it, or?
Yeah, and I mean that's really part of it too, because you see so many people who uh they're they want to be a writer, they want to be work in some sort of creative field, but they're afraid of criticism. They're afraid of they think if somebody critiques something, then that's it, you're done. But I never saw it that way. I mean, maybe to start, once you read your script, you're the only one reading your script, and then once you get other people to look at it, yeah, maybe at first it might be like, oh shit, like like it might maybe not like a wake up call, but like this is what it's like to be a writer, and so I mean, I've had that whole series of like sending in scripts to festivals and companies and stuff like that, and some of them will get back to you, some of them we'll get back to you and say, "Hey, thanks for the submission. Unfortunately, we can't consider this." I've had lots of those, and that's part of it. I mean, and especially with all the scripts I still do, I send them off to not just Paul and Christopher. I send them off to Norm Foster, the great Norm Foster, most produced playwright in Canada, who fantastic playwright as well. And it's great to get, because even he said, because I had him on my podcast before, he said, it's a tough business, but you got to have a real tough skin to be in it, because people are going to see your work. They're going to critique, like even in anything that we watch or read. We watch a movie. Lots like what's one I'm just thinking of, probably because Oppenheimer. Like I think a majority of the people love Oppenheimer. I mean, do you like Oppenheimer? First of all, do you
Hmm.
like Oppenheimer? Yeah, it's a good movie. So a majority of us like it, but then of course there's going to be some people who say, "No, it was too long. It was too this. It was too that." And the way I see it, it's just that's just part of it. You're going to have people who are going to love it, and there are going to be some people who boo. And there's nothing really that you can do to avoid that. You know what I mean? So yeah, definitely. I have gotten lots of that. Even we'll even see some stuff we be getting like midway through a production of a script for one of my plays, and midway through we'll go, hey, this line here actually doesn't make sense. What does this mean, or what can we say to? And that's not at all people saying, oh, this is shit, why would you do that? It's like, no, it's just that's part of the creative process. Is you want it to be as perfect as possible, and that's the work, really. That's what I say.
So, talking about the creative process, Frankie, do you think writing a movie script and writing a script for play, you think there's a totally different way to approach that?
I think definitely so. I mean, I've never written a movie script. I have lots of ideas. I mean, somewhere like way down the line, I'd love to make a movie. Somewhere in my future plans, it's somewhere buried in there. But right now, I stick mostly to plays. But it would definitely be different, even just considering, like, look, you're doing a play that's multiple sets. Like I did a murder mystery around this time last year, actually, and it was multiple sets. It starts off in the house where the murder happens, and then it goes off to each of the suspects. Like one of the suspects was a lawyer, goes to his office. One suspect was a doctor, goes to his office, and then there's a couple scenes on the road. So with that, you kind of like that's just easy to do in the sense of like, okay, you're writing the script knowing where you're going to perform it. I mean, back when I wrote this one, I didn't know where I was going to perform it, but like it's like, we'll make it happen somehow. It's definitely different in the way of like, okay, you're writing a movie a script. I mean, like writing it is one thing. I mean, like writing it is write it, and then people will look at it and say, okay, how can we make this happen? With a play, when you write it and put it on, it's all about, okay, multiple sets. How do we do this? How do we do this transition? How do we make it as smoothly as possible? With a movie, you know, you're writing multiple different locations. You're going out renting facilities. You're on location. As whereas a play, it's just your the only location is your stage. That's your location, and it's up to the actors and the script and all that to make that a reality. So it's definitely very much different in good ways and bad. And I mean, like, yeah. I'm trying to think here. Actually, yeah, this is a really good question because I mean, I still plan, you know, to hopefully do a movie someday, and it's definitely something that I consider where it's so easy with a play, multiple sets, awesome. This is the spot we're doing it. Movie, okay, we need permits for to go here and go there and go there. So there's definitely lots of differences between them.
Yeah, you're talking about actors. Where do you find most of your talent from? Agencies? Or you just go up to
No,
someone and say, "You look like the character that I wrote for Sherry. Maybe you could play her." So how do you do that?
yep. They're actually all local. Everyone that I work with in
Hmm.
my plays is all local. Basically, I mean, having done so much theater over the years, I'm able to it's kind of good because we have like this network of people around here, like in all the different troops and stuff like that. I'll write a play and I'll like, oh, so and so who I work with on this project, oh my god, they'd be great for this part. And there's some parts that you write that you're just like, oh my god, it was like I wrote this with you in mind, so if you say no, I don't have a backup plan here. Um and so yeah, that's where I get the doubt. We have amazing people around here who you know, they don't do it for like a full-time profession. Like it's not like they're, you know, professionally trained actors or anything like that. They work very professionally. Like that's one thing. I'm like, if you guys really want to pursue this, you know, professionally, you guys could. Like you guys got something here. And it's really all, it's a huge community effort. It really is, because we not just have the actors, we have some people behind the scenes who help out. We have you know, amazing sponsors who are able to uh, help pay the people to be involved. Some of them just say, "Oh no, don't bother paying me. Like I'm doing this because I like it." But I mean, like, you know, working it, running it as a business, you want to, you know, give people what they should get for all the hard work they've put into it. And yeah, it really is a huge community effort. But yeah, to answer your first question, all locals, and I'd love to reach out to some people in the future. Say, hey, anyone in Alberta, you guys want to come out and do a play? I'm looking for a part. Come on out. I wanna cast you. So somewhere down the line, maybe I'll reach out. You know, past our comfort zone kind of thing. But for now, we got amazing talent here, and I'd love to put them to good use.
Obviously, being an actor, you would also act in your plays, but how do you, as a director, direct yourself?
It's pretty easy, actually. It's not as hard as I thought. I mean, I don't normally write my plays with a part in mind for myself. Like, for example, the last play we did, one of our leads wasn't able to do it, and because we were getting so close to showtime, I just stepped in. I knew the part. It's also easy when you have seen how they do it. Like you're like, okay, you direct them to the point where like this is how I envisioned it, this is how I want it to go, and then it's just super easy to, okay, I'm taking over that part. Okay, how did they do this? Okay, I'm just gonna do it exactly how they did. I'm sorry, my dog's barking out there. He's losing his mind. I don't know if you can hear it. But yeah, so it really is simple in that way. I mean, like and it also helps too with the last one I did where I wrote it. It was like, okay, I've already seen how, you know, so and so did this part, and I already wrote the script, so it's actually not as hard as I would have anticipated it to be. But I mean, definitely, I'm starting to veer more towards into the writing, directing, as opposed to acting. I mean, obviously, I'll still act in all the stuff I do, but it's one of those things. It's like, what do you want to have on your tombstone? Do you want to have actor, writer, director? I'm like, yeah, writer, director, and actor too. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, it's one of those things. It's like picking a favorite child. How can you choose one or the other? But it was pretty easy actually to do both roles.
So, besides working with Norm Foster, the greatest playwright, like you just say, "Well, here's your part. play it the way you should, play it the way you feel?
It kind of depends, actually. I mean, a lot of the ones that I write, some of them, there are some parts that I'm like, okay, this was like written for you, basically. So it's like just be yourself, kind of thing. It kind of depends on the role, really. Like if it's a lead part where the character is super complex and he's super multi-dimension and stuff like that, then I'll probably meet with them and just say, hey, so just this is what I'm looking for and stuff like that. But I kind of like to give the actors a little bit of like, I'll send them the script beforehand, give them time, like maybe like a week or so, like, you know, really find your character. How do you think they would say this? How do you think they would act in this situation? And kind of go from there. And then during the whole process, we'll say, okay, maybe, you know, this character here, maybe tone that attitude back a bit, because he's not actually that angry. He's just, so like there's um it's definitely you know, I normally give it to them to say, okay, you kind of find like your own interpretation of it, but ultimately I make sure to know what my vision is, and if I see it going in one way, I'm like, oh, okay, you know, maybe just pull it back a little bit. And it's really really good, because at the end of the day, even though it is your show, you're the director, you're in charge of it. You also, the actors are the ones living and breathing the characters, and you want them to play it how they envisioned it, since they're the ones in that position.
What about the emotions like crying and laughing? How do you get them to cry? Others have said that they think of something sad. Others will say, well, you know, they got this job as an actress because I knew how to cry on cue. So, what's your interpretation of that?
I mean, definitely, uh, I I kind of let it come naturally, in a way. Like it's, you know, you kind of think of it in real life when some people are yelling. Sometimes, you know, tears are shed. Some people just don't. They get angry and sad, but they don't cry. But yeah, that's really interesting. I think I've only actually, when I'm trying to think, I probably like cried on stage a couple times. I can't name any specific examples, but I know for sure that I have. But yeah, it's definitely one of those ones where I'm like, I'm not gonna force it. If it comes out, and then I'll even say that to the actors too. If it comes naturally, then perfect. Just let it be. It feels authentic, but don't force it. Like that's the one thing where like you'll see the actors who are forcing to cry, oh, like they're doing that. I'm like, okay, okay, that's okay. It went from a drama to Anchorman
Comedy.
one, when yeah, I'm in a glass case of emotion. Like I'm like, no, like make sure if you're gonna cry, just let it happen naturally. Is probably the best way that I'd say it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Frankie. I'm looking here that you also you began acting not only in 2013, but your high school drama club and the community theater, and then after that, you went and I'm going to talk to you about Felix Unger, Tony Randall's Felix Unger in The Odd Couple. How did you manage to play Felix Unger?
Oh man, that was such a fun one. That was probably, it's so hard to choose. Like as I said, it's like picking a favorite child. How do you choose which one's your favorite? But that's definitely in like my top, you know, top. Um, it was great. Like, well, it also helps too when you play a character that's already. I mean, like if you're given a script to something, to a show that you've never seen or heard before, it's a little trickier to try and get into that mindset, because I'm like, okay, this is my complete interpretation. Like, especially if I'm playing a character that I wrote, I'm like, okay, I have no other characters to base this off. It's, or like other portrayals of this character. This is the first, like, I'm the first portrayal of it. So with Felix Unger, it was actually easy because, you know, there is the Tony Randall one. There is, I even watched multiple times the Matthew Broderick and Nathan Lane one, where Matthew Broderick was Felix and Nathan Lane was Oscar, two of the greatest actors alive. And yeah, that was, well, it was funny. So we did that one. So of course, I said that I started drama in high school with the Miramichi Valley High School Drama Club. That's where I started with. Shout out to Chris Matheson, who, you know, made me who I am today. And by the way, I should point this out. I'm kind of going off on a tangent here. Him and the drama club were selected to participate at the Fringe Festival in July.
Wow.
in Scotland, which is quite the honor. And
Oh,
so
wow.
definitely huge shout out to them, and a great group of kids they have there. But basically, he has, so of course he has the MVHS Drama Club, and then he also has what he calls CM Productions, which is basically all the people who have graduated. He brings them in for scripts that, okay, you can't do in high school, but we can do this because do the script because this is in high school. We can do like whatever we want, kind of thing. We're not handcuffed to certain. You got to make sure that it's this appropriate and that. It's like, no, we're just gonna do whatever the hell we want. I mean, within reason. We're not gonna do like really bad stuff. So one of them was The Odd Couple we did, and it was one that we wanted to do for years, and he always said it was just a matter of getting the right people for it, and of course Oscar and Felix. And when we did The Odd Couple, it was myself and my good friend Christopher Cook, who played Oscar. Originally, Chris Matheson had said, when he approached us first and said, I'd like you guys to both be the odd couple, but I'm going to let you guys decide who is going to play who. And I
Wow.
said, oh, that's something. So I said, okay. So me and Chris were talking about it. Like, okay, like you can play this part of Felix, but then you can also play that part of Oscar. Like it was this. And then ultimately we decided Felix and Oscar were the way to go. And then even the director said, he said, yeah, that's how I envisioned it. But he said, I would have liked to seen, it would have been interesting just to see it one way or the other, because we're like, we could do one way or the other. And so it, yeah, I mean, like I'm telling a real long story here, but it it it's easy to play a character when you can. I know some people say that it's you shouldn't watch other portrayals of it. It's like you're cast as Batman and you go back to watch Christian Bale and Robert Pattinson to see
Mhm.
how they did it. To me, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's actually good because you're like, okay, like I want to make sure I'm not just doing a Christian Bale impression, or like in my case, I want to make sure I'm not just doing a Matthew Broderick impression or a Tony Randall impression. You know what I mean? So I think it was super easy in that sense, where they had laid the foundation, and mine was just, okay, find yourself. And so that way people aren't just looking like, oh god, he's so clearly just doing a Tony Randall impression. Like I didn't want that at all. It was just make him your own character, but he's still Felix. He's still a neat freak, the moose calls and everything. And so yeah, and that was a lot of fun. That was one of the best times I've ever had doing theater ever.
Yeah, you talk about Batman. I did a scene, the Jared Leto and Harley Quinn scene where she's talking to him inside the prison, the psychiatrist. And
Right.
I don't like the Jared Leto version. I preferred the Heath Ledger version, so I mixed them up. I was the Jared Leto version, but I did the Heath Ledger voice. I take a little bit of a few and put them together. Like,
And that's perfect, actually. So then you're
yeah,
not just, oh my god, well, especially when you can tell that they're trying. They're trying to do Heath Ledger, like the way
sorry.
Heath
Oh,
Ledger's mannerisms
yeah,
are. You're like you're just so clearly trying to do what he is. Like make it your own.
people say I play a great villain because I have the voice for it.
Ah,
you know?
there. See, I got ideas now. I got ideas. If you want to come down to Canada, I might do a play with you as the villain. Maybe I can arrange that. Are you
Yes, I
free?
would love to play villain.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'll send you the details to your agent.
Hey, it wouldn't be that bad because I was thinking of getting my face out there. My brother was an actor. He was in over 60 movies. But many pages is a play, basically?
I normally time it out based on page numbers. So if I have a play that's about 80 pages, 85 pages, I'm good. If it's any less than that, I mean, like it depends on what kind of play it is. If it's a one act play, then time it out. Each page is approximately 1 minute. So, if I'm doing a one act play, they're normally shorter, 40 pages roughly in that range, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, depends on how long I want to be. And same with full length plays. I'd like, of course, 2 hours intermission. The first act is normally longer, second act is a little shorter. So I normally keep it between, so like maybe 90 pages. So that's a full hour, and then intermission, and then last 30 or so, 30, 40 minutes ish, something like that. So I normally try to judge it based on page numbers. Just think of it as 1 minute. So 70 pages, approximately 70 minutes.
Yeah, I actually saw Tosca, and that was an so the first hour, and then you had a half an hour intermission, then another hour. So basically, put it all together, it's like 2.5, 3 hours with like 15, 20-minute intermissions, and it was good. But you
Oh, okay.
imagine having to learn those lines over and over and over again. I bet you that when you were learning lines, or your actors are playing the play, whatever, and learning lines, they probably flub it all the time. Just flubbed here, flubbed there, to the point where an hour went by and they haven't even said their line yet. You know what I mean?
I mean, like, the easy part with that is, and that's what I tell the actors, the audience doesn't have the script. Like, they don't know. And I mean, I think the only people who would know, like, in the if there was anybody in the audience who were to know, might be people who do theater. Just go, I can tell, I can see it in their face. They forgot their line. I can tell. But even then, I mean, like, they can't prove it. Like, just if you mess up and someone says, "Oh my god, was that supposed to happen?" You just say, "Yeah, that's like, yeah, that was supposed to happen." They'll never know, you know? Like, that's how I see it. I mean, they won't know you messed up unless you tell them you messed up. Like, you forget a line on stage. Uh, uh, what's my line? Like, then that's a problem. But I mean, if you just keep it going the best you can, I mean, obviously, I mean, like the easy way out of that is to just make sure you know your lines. I mean, but sometimes showtime, but if one person forgets their line, things happen, but just keep it going. The show has got to keep on going somehow.
I know, but isn't it allowed for a person to add, like, to make up something to ad lib? For instance, I know several actors, like Dustin Hoffman himself, and many of the actors and actresses have actually ad libbed a line because they forgot their line. So wouldn't that be allowed if you're reading the script and then person's, wait a minute, that's not in there? Would you allow that, or would you just let the show go on?
If it fits the story and it fits the characters, then I'd be fine with it. If it was they just said something that was completely like this feels like a different play now, or this doesn't even feel like your character now. Like, what are you doing? But that's why I see it. Someone forgets something, let's say, and someone will ad lib something to kind of keep it going. That's fine. If they're just ad libbing stuff for no reason and just, yeah, I thought it'd be funny to say this instead, then it's like, no, like, because that's one thing that people would always get. Any show I do, it's closing night. This is my last chance to do this. This is my last chance to do this. I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. And then and it's like, okay, look. The show has to stay the same. Don't, just because it's the last night and there's lots of people out there who are excited to see it, don't change the story. Just keep it fairly the or not fairly the same. Hell, keep the whole thing the same. Just, you know what I mean? Like, that's something that people tend to get a little bit out of hand with sometimes, where it's ad lib, sure, if it fits, and maybe run it by the director too. I mean, there have been lots of cases where I may have said something, I'm like, I should have checked with them before I said that, but nobody said anything. But you just put yourself in their shoes, where you're like, if someone did that to me and I got thrown off, I'd be pissed. So
Yeah.
uh there's definitely many ways to look at it.
Have you ever written a musical? And if you could, do you have specific people in mind who could help you write one?
Never wrote a musical, no. I'm not much of a singer myself, so I don't think that would be in the cards for me. But I've directed a musical, though. I last summer I directed Tick Tick Boom
Oh
from
yeah,
it was,
wow.
yep, it was written by, of course, John Larson, who wrote Rent, and they also did a movie on it with Andrew Garfield,
I love Rent.
and yeah, fantastic, and was directed by Lin-Manuel Miranda. So I remember after I saw that movie, it was always in the back of my mind. I said, I'd love to do this because it was so inspiring. A young artist, dealing with rejection, failure, and craziness going on in his personal life, while also facing, like, I have this big break coming, this big workshop, and it has to go well. And just the story, like, just his struggles was just, I'm like, this is something that everybody needs to see. And it was fantastic to have it be done here, and it's a musical that it isn't done too often too. So people say, Tick Tick Boom, what's that? I'm like, oh, Rent. Oh, Rent. Yes, I know Rent. Yeah, it's from the guy who made that. It's his story basically. So, but yeah, would I ever write a musical? If I learn to sing, if I learn to do any of that stuff, then maybe. But right now, I think I'll stick to just regular shows.
Well, you were talking somewhere along the lines back about how many of your scripts are rejected, but then you turn and you put the play on yourself. Why don't those who rejected your plays, why don't they come out and see a show and say, look, it was pretty good. So, why do you think they reject it?
I mean, there could be a multitude of reasons. Like one could be just, yeah, script was nice, but it's not what we're looking for, or it's we have too many submissions and we can't include it. It could be a multiple of factors, really. And I mean, I never expect any of them to come to my shows, and I mean, if they do, great. But I'm not too like yeah, it's interesting because I mean, one could be like, as I said, it's not what we're looking for, or we have too many. And I mean, it's something that I never take personally. I normally just because let's say, for example, with the podcast, like someone says, "Oh my God, like how come you can't get me on the podcast sooner?" It's like, oh well, I have too many people that I got. I have it all scheduled. I'm like, I can't squeeze you in until then. Like, it's just that's just what it's like. And same deal with the play. Might be a little bit of a different comparison, but that same nature. So I just see it as you know the fact that someone even got to read it at all. If they did read it, I mean, maybe they just looked at it and said, "Title this." Yeah, good play. And just didn't read it. But I think the fact that if someone at least takes the time to read it, that's an honor in and of itself. And if they don't go through with it, then it is what it is. And you could be disappointed, but that's, life is full of disappointments and it's just a matter of how you deal with it.
Unless someone like Norm Foster sends in a script, they're like, yes, we'll take it, even if it's crap. We'll take it. Oh, Norm Foster. Oh, it's crappy play, but let's put it on.
It's Norm Foster. He can do no wrong. Like shout out to you, Norm, if you're listening to this. I'm doing all kinds of shout
Like,
outs. I do.
it's like, who's this guy? Franky Corcoran. What's scripted? Who's this?
Yeah. Who's this?
Well, I'm very interested in your character of Henry Saunders in Lend Me a Tenor. That sounds like an interesting one. And why
Yes,
that
that was
character?
fun. It's fun. I always say this. The best part about theater is to be someone you're not and to be an angry just overreactive, just angry guy. I'm like, what else? I'm trying to think of synonyms that I can use to describe him. Basically, Henry Saunders and Lend Me a Tenor. Lend Me a Tenor, for those of you guys who don't know, is it was written by Ken Ludwig, and I can't remember the name of the theater company in the play now, but they have the world's greatest soprano. Tito Morelli is coming to perform for their opera company, and I'm Henry Saunders, of course, is the general manager of the company, and Tito Morelli. Everyone's buying tickets to come see Tito, and it's everything has to go right, and Henry Saunders is getting calls like, oh crap, this is going on. They lost the music. Oh damn it, like like freaking out, and
Sounds like a Darn Man episode.
yes, it really is. And his daughter is dating his assistant, and so she's always there keeping him a check. Like, Daddy, did you take your pills? And he's like, no, yes, like, and so basically, Tito supposedly dies in his sleep from an apparent suicide. They read a note that was misread, and they thought, "Oh my God, he killed himself. He's in bed, but the show's starting soon. What do we do?" And so they dress up. Saunders dresses up his assistant as Tito, and he goes on to perform. And then Tito wakes up, and it becomes there's two Tito. Like, it's just a crazy laugh out loud comedy. But Saunders in particular, I love just because, as I said, it's fun to be someone you're not. And he was just this angry, like, so and so died. Okay, show must go on. Dress up as Tito and go on out. And I got to yell, and I got to. There's one part in particular that I think is one of the best in Lend Me a Tenor when
Nice.
finds out that he's dead, quotation marks, he's dead, and walks into the room and he goes, "You son of a bitch." And then I have to jump on him and strangle him while he's already supposedly dead. And even me and the actor, we had this contest. We're like, how many bruises can you leave on me before the show ends? And I can't remember how many we got to, but yeah, that one was so fun. Not just because of the character, but the play itself. When you have a great script and you got a great character that you're playing, it just it's just so much fun. It's like literally like just riding a bike. No, it's all for laughs. Like
Yeah.
really, if the audience goes home having a good time, the cast goes home having a good time, then you did your job.
Yeah. I see that you were in Christmas Carols, Mr. Fezziwig. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I love the Alistair Sim version, and I know Mr. Fezziwig, and he didn't have very much of a part in that. So,
No, that was grade 10. I did that. That was my second year of high school. And that was like, to me, that was the part when I got that and just having so much fun doing that. It was one scene, but it was so much fun. I was like, "Oh my god, like I'd love to just do more Fezziwig." And that one there really stood out to me because that was one thing about, I mean, of course, as is with, everyone in the world, weather can be unpredictable. And so we lost our final two shows because of snow. And then, of course, by the time we were able to do it, it was just too late. And it was almost like, oh, damn it. I wish we could have gone back and finished that. And that's why that one always stood out to me. I'm like, if we could just go back, like that was 10 years ago now, which is wild that I'm even saying that. Um, but yeah, that one was just so much fun. And just that character in general, like just so lovable and just so, you know, mentored Scrooge, and once you know what he did, like it's just off. Like I had a blast playing that character.
wow, you're so talented there. Um, and so you also won Outstanding Actor for your performance in Audience by Michael Frayn. How did that make you feel? What kind of emotion was it you were going through?
That felt really good, actually. That was my last senior year of at the New Brunswick Drama Festival. I won that, and it was great. Well, because I mean, uh, it was so funny whenever you're going into those award ceremonies. Because so of course at the end of the festival they hand out the awards and stuff like that. Um, and it's always funny because people would always say, if I don't get an award, then that means I'm bad. And it's like, no, that's not what it means at all. It's like there's one of you, or yeah, there's one of you. Actually, no, there's 100 of you. Sorry, there's 100 of you there. Like there's a whole bunch of people. Someone's gonna go home disappointed, but just because you don't get one, that doesn't mean much. And so that was a lot because that was a fun play to do. Audience was a really fun play to do, and um uh just knowing, I was like, okay, I'm capping off my senior year with this. This is great. I finally got, like, it's like in New Brunswick Drama Fest terms, that was like winning an Emmy or a Tony. Like, like might not mean a lot to a lot of people, but to you, you're like, that means the world that I got that. But yeah, it made me feel really good. Like, it was just great. The high school drama, like drama was really the highlight of high school, and so just to cap it off by just getting that award at the end, uh, was great. It was a great feel, and know that all my hard work felt like had paid off. It really did.
Talk about hard work, like you were talking about Jonathan Larson's Tick Tick Boom. You were directing your first musical. Wow, um, that was a lot of pressure for you. Um, with the playwriting and the directing, the podcasting, which we'll talk about in a second, and also directing, like directing a Jonathan Larson. Like, I love Rent. Rent is my favorite, and I sing plenty of the songs on there. Like
One that
Only Us is
Seasons of
my
Love,
favorite with Laura Dreyfus and Ben Platt. That's my favorite.
right? Oh, love that one. Seasons of Love 2 was also the best as well.
Yeah. Um, well, with Rent, it's like my favorite. How do you deal with your mental health? You have all this work, all this flooding, all this people here, people there, emails, whatever. How do you deal with your mental health?
It's well, I mean, it helps that I've gotten help. Believe it or not, you might not know it. I have I have anxiety, which I
Mhm.
think to a degree everybody does. Like that's something someone says, I'm not anxious. I'm like, wait, you're not anxious. You're not even like even a little slightly worried about something. Like, not that I don't believe people when they say they don't have anxiety, but to me, I'm like, really, like even if you do, it's fine. Like, who cares? Like, um, and anxiety and it affects in a lot of ways, but I try not to let it, cloud my mind when I'm doing what I'm doing, kind of thing. Like back then, it might have been because and even directing and writing, you're doubting yourself every step of the way. But if I look back to myself in high school, like there's no way that I could have done it, like what I'm doing now with the mentality that I had back then. Like there's no way that I could have done it. And so, yeah, like I definitely, I take medication. I've been sober since July 2020. Just trying to take care of my mental health first, and with that mindset, and then have now starting this, it's been really good. And I mean, I still doubt myself. I still have my days where I'm like, what am I doing? Am I making the right call here, and this and that? But at the end of the day, it's worth it. Like if you're not worried about, or like if you're worried about it, that's a good thing because it just shows how much you care. And this means more to me than almost, well, I mean, like I shouldn't say it's everything to me. I mean, like family's everything. But it's one of the most important things to me because it made me who I am today.
Yeah, and the pandemic is another type of mental health. Imagine what was going on during then. You were discussing that in the beginning as well. That must have been really hard for you, how it affected you and your family. And probably did most things online. Like, I don't know if you did any acting online or whatever, but what did you do during that time? You couldn't even go out. You had to social distance. You had to only use the internet. Like, COVID doesn't go through the internet.
Yeah. Well, I started writing. That was when I first really started getting serious about playwriting and all that. Which, if one good thing came out of it, that's what came out of it. But no, yeah, I mean, aside from the writing, it was a lot of Minecraft. I played a lot of Minecraft. I still
Yeah.
play Minecraft. Uh that's the best. And sorry, talking with friends and just saying like, hey, like once this is over, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that. Looking forward to the future because we're like, okay, we're not gonna be living like this forever. And that really helped us get through it. And it's wild though. It's wild to think that at the end of it, I came out with this. Talking to you right now. If I didn't, yeah, who knows? If the pandemic didn't happen, maybe you and I wouldn't be talking right now. I wouldn't be
Mhm.
podcasting. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of things that you just don't think about or really consider. Like, wow, like how did this come about? But yeah, pandemic, opened our eyes and made us realize don't take this for granted. Really, don't take it for granted because it could be gone like that, and you just never know. So prepare for it, and uh, you know, we would just pray that day by day that it would get better, and eventually it did. I mean, it's still out there, but not as bad as it was, and we overcame it.
That's true. I appreciate that. And yeah, I that's the only reason I started podcasting because I took an effective communications course. And when was I going to be able to use that? You social distance, you can't really do very much. So I said, "Hey, I'll come up with a podcast." And here we are. So you're right. You're definitely right.
Wild. The universe is weird. It just all aligned. It knew that this was going to happen.
So what are your thoughts on God?
I think God is great. God has done lots, and I mean, like it's my grandmother who passed away back in November 2022. She'd always say to me, if you're feeling stressed, you're feeling any type of anxiety, just say, Jesus, take my hand. And we always did that. Like that was always uh you know, she was always so enthusiastic and about religion and God loves all his children and this and that. And while I mean, when you think about going to church and stuff like that, like sure, you may not go as often as you like because I mean, like we're busy people and stuff like that, and it's hard to go every single week. That's just me anyway. I know lots of people do, but like I absolutely believe in God, very grateful. very grateful for a lot of what he's given us. Absolutely. I even have some stuff. Do I even have it here? Right here. Well, Graham gave me this here. Up with my business cards here. That's a little thing. Jesus lives in you. Holy Spirit guides you, and that's something I hold very dear. And yeah, so Graham, if you're listening to this from heaven, thank you for instilling that in me.
Do you have anything left unsaid or left undone if you were to die tonight that you would regret?
Mm, I think just taking a not taking the moment to really take it all in. You know what I mean? Because we don't think like people die every day, and someday you're like, that could be somebody that I care about, and you're like, I don't want to leave anything left unsaid. I want to leave everything on the table. If I love somebody, I'll let them know. I think that's ultimately my big thing, is that, I mean, like, even as much you want as much time as you can with people, and sometimes you worry that just maybe the time we're given isn't enough, but it's just make the most out of it. That's what you got to do. That would be the one thing that I'd be scared of with that, is just feeling like, oh my god, did I do everything that I wanted to do? Did I
Mhm.
say everything that was, do they know how much I cared about them? And yeah, that's where I stand on that. Something tells me that all these questions about dying, are you going to kill me? Is this what is this what this is? Is this where I get killed?
No, I love there's a particular scripture in Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, where it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding, and all your ways acknowledge him. He will direct your paths. And that basically, I believe that wholeheartedly with my Christian faith as well. So I really appreciate that we were able to talk about that. Um, so I noticed that you were an extra in the TV industries. How did that happen? Like you appeared in New Brunswick-based sitcoms like Brit Out of Water and O'Donnell's. Give me the story on that. How did that come about?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, actually. So it was July 2022. It was announced. So our mayor here in Miramichi, Adam Lorden,
Hmm.
he is good friends with English comedian. I'm not sure if you heard of him, James Mullinger. He moved here from New Brunswick, or not, or sorry, he moved to New Brunswick from England. And so basically, yeah, it was, they had this idea to do a sitcom where basically James had to flee to New Brunswick because of the Brexit scandal, because of a joke he said, and he ends up in Miramichi in a
Mm.
fictionalized version called Riversville. It was a 6 episode series on Bell 5 TV1, and it was a lot of fun. I did 2 episodes on that. I had I think like one line, but it was just being there
Hmm.
was great to see how it's all done and see how it's all filmed, and just see, because we always see the I always say this, we always see the finished product. We never see the production. And I think that's the best, the most important part of anybody who wants to be some sort of creative uh worker, or like anybody who wants to be a filmmaker or a TV actor. I'm all about the process. I love seeing the process. I love seeing how it's made. And that was the first step that I got to that. And it was really fun. And then of course O'Donnell's, which just came out. It basically, the best way to put it is, it's always sunny in Philadelphia.
Hmm.
Meets Trailer Park Boys meets The Office. That's probably the best way to describe it. Basically set in an Irish pub and working an Irish pub. The real life pub is called O'Donoghue's, but they changed it to O'Donnell's for the show. And that was a lot of fun. It's on Bell 5 TV1 now, actually, for anybody who has it. There's 5 episodes on there, and check for me in episode 3. I have a few lines in that, and that was a lot of fun. And as I said, with Bread Out of Water, seeing how it's all done, fantastic. And it's something that I hope we get to do more of here. Fingers crossed for season 2. I haven't heard anything yet, but I got my fingers crossed anyway. So definitely, guys, be sure to check that out.
Yeah, you gotta be glad that you like. There was a major fire that occurred in New Jersey on July 9, 1937. A flammable nitrate film. All the previous contributed to several fires in film industry laboratories, studios, and vaults. Just destroyed many of these old silent film stars. All the movies, especially one particular, all their movies were destroyed. So there was nothing left for them to even say, "Hey, I used to be a silent film star." Oh yeah, show me. So
Nothing.
you, yeah, so you could have, it could have gotten to the point where you could have been this extra in the TV industry, and then you could have gone on to work with people like Brad Pitt. You could have gone on to work with Nicolas Cage, and Christopher Walken and all that.
Or Matthew
So,
McConaughey.
do you have a particular actor or actress that you love to work with if you could? I mean,
Oh,
besides Chris Cook, of course. I mean,
it's Chris Cook. Yeah, I acted with him for years. That's enough. No, love that guy. I'd love to work with him again. If you're listening to this, Chris, let's do something soon. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, my all-time favorite actor is Bryan Cranston,
Mhm.
Breaking Bad, Malcolm in the Middle. Probably him, I'd say. If I had to choose one person, he would be a lot of fun. Not just he's one of my idols, but favorite actor, and everything I've seen about him, he's just the most professional man in the entertainment industry from what I hear. Like, it's just so I think it'd be a blessing to get to work with him.
Yeah, I bet you. I bet you anything. Yeah. So, are you looking forward to getting into more TV, like into more films? And
We've had two sitcoms here within the last 2 years, which is something that never happens. Like one summer we're doing Bread Out of Water, next summer we're doing O'Donnell's. So like I'm optimistic, and I mean, if they are willing to pay me to show my face up around, and I'd love to be there. I mean, hell, even if they didn't pay me, I'd do it. I mean, I do love money, but yeah, no, I'm absolutely open to it, and should the right opportunity arise.
so, what happened to Brit Out of Water and O'Donnell's? Like, are they still going
What
on?
Bread Out of Water, from what I've heard, they turned it into a film, actually. So
Mm.
basically, it went from 6 episodes, six, like, it was like 15-minute episodes. And they just turned it all into a film that they're going to take to festivals now. That's what I'm hearing anyway. And with O'Donnell's, I haven't heard anything about season two. There were talks about it. I just haven't heard any news of it yet. So I have my fingers crossed, because it's a real, they're both great shows. I'd love to see more of it, but no, I haven't heard much yet about what they're gonna do. But I'm sure even if they don't come back, we're gonna get some more shows around here to do, which is awesome.
Well, I know you said that you don't sing or could write a musical, but what do you currently have on your Spotify or CDs? What kind of music do you like listening to?
I like country a lot. I like a lot of country. Some people might not think that, like, you're not a country boy. I'm like, no, I like country. I like a lot of Sinatra.
Mm.
I'm a big Frank Sinatra fan. Yeah, it's hard to pick like one in particular that yeah, you stumped me with that one. So I'll go with country music in general and Frank Sinatra.
Oh wow, you're getting that. That's a strange combination right there. You don't like
It
any.
is a very strange combination.
You
Next
don't like
time,
any
next time
rock.
we do this podcast,
Yeah,
I'm gonna do up a nice four big list, and then
yeah,
I'll be able to give you more. I was like, shit, that's a good question. I gotta think about that. So
yeah,
for now,
and
that's what I'll say.
yeah. It's got to have Supertramp and Pink Floyd on there as well.
Yes, and Taylor Swift.
I was going to say Taylor Swift. Yeah,
Taylor, yes, you gotta have her on
Taylor
there. Come
Swift.
on.
Woohoo! Britney
Woo!
Spears. Woohoo! Yeah, why not? Evanescence, Amy Lee, my favorite. Definitely.
They're the best.
Definitely the best. So tell us a little bit more about your podcast. Now I saw or watched a bit of it. What are you trying to achieve with that?
Yeah, well, so basically, the Corcoran Entertainment Show, I started doing it. I first announced it in September 2021. Basically, what happened was our first production, Corcoran Entertainment's first production, was going to be set for October. And then COVID came back with
Mhm.
the beep came back with a force, or with a vengeance. I mean,
Darn beep.
and
I hate the
beep,
beep.
the beep, and
Beep
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 19.
beep.
Uh, Please don't sue us, YouTube. And so, once the beep came back, I was unable to do anything with the
Mhm.
show. I'm like, shit, I have to wait until. So people ask, when's the show gonna happen? I'm like, when the government says I can.
Mm.
So, so I said, what can I do then? In the meantime, and then. I always wanted to do a podcast. I brainstormed lots of ideas and got some advice from some people, And so basically, yeah, the Corcoran Entertainment Show. It releases every Tuesday, features guests from not just entertainment, but anybody in general. And we talk there's a 30 to 40 minute segment at the start, and then the last 20 or so minutes I will dive into some topics on my own news. I'll do some reviews for some TV shows that have just came out, or movies that had just came out. This episode coming up next week, I'm actually in a previous episode I put my Oscar predictions, and I'm gonna see how right I was or how wrong I was in
Really?
next week's episode. Yeah, so stay tuned for that one. Also, we have a new bi-weekly segment that airs on Thursdays. Corcoran Entertainment Show's Thursday Think Tank with Christian and Friends. Christian, of course, being Christian Potenza, who, for those of you guys who, I'm not sure if anybody here watches Total Drama Island or 16, he was the voice of Chris McLean and Jude Lazowski.
Wow.
He and I do a bi-weekly segment where we have people on, they pitch their ideas, and Christian, as someone who works in the entertainment industry, gives advice on how we can make that happen, and we workshop them all together. So that comes out every second Thursday. We have people on, and if you guys want to be part of the Think Tank, feel free to send us an email at fcorcoran10.com with the subject Think Tank, and just give us your ideas if when you'd like to be on the show and all that. That's fcorcoran10 at yahoo.com. And yeah, feel free. And also the subject Think Tank, and just give us your ideas and tell us what you want, and we would love to have you on the show. So yeah, and it's going great, and we're 100 episodes in. I didn't ever think I'd get that far, but here we are. The world is weird, unpredictable, and it's been a lot of fun.
Do you do everything yourself, like editing and graphics and thumbnails and
Yeah,
scheduling?
I used to do the video versions, but I don't do them anymore because, well, first off, it's a pain to edit the video, and I my patience gets very diminished when it comes to the video editing. So I stick to audio only. But with our Thursday Think Tank, Christian is going to be doing some of the video versions for that. He has some visual ideas, so I said, "Yep, you do it." You do it. That's your department. I'll stick to audio and recording and editing. I'll do all that. You do the visuals, please, because I can't do it.
That's amazing. Yeah. So, is there one piece of advice you would like to give to the upcoming podcasters, entertainers, actors, playwrights, theater directors, whatever? So, go.
um, as Christian Potenza says on our Think Tank, it's not bragging if you're actually doing it. And definitely, guys, go for it. I mean, like God, like when I started this thing, I didn't think it would be where I am now. As I said, I didn't think I'd be talking to you right now. And just go for it. You don't know what'll happen. Just know it will take time. It will take time. Nothing, Rome wasn't built in a day. I know people say, oh, that's so cliche. No, it's true. Well, it wasn't built in a day. This is gonna, what you're doing might take time. But if you're patient and you work hard and you are passionate about it, like, that's the one thing. You got to have the passion for it. uh if if you don't like what you're doing, then it's like, why are you even doing it then? Like, why are you pouring all this time into it? Go do something else. But just, yeah, just work hard, be patient, and as Journey says, don't stop believing. I'm sorry, I just so bad, but don't stop believing. Basically, yeah, that would
Love
be my message
and
to
touch
everybody.
and squeeze in.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Yeah, that's my advice.
Yeah. Apart from that, thank you so much, Frankie. Really appreciate the opportunity to interview on the video podcast. Not, I might, you know, I might make yours audio, just mine's video. Just kidding.
Yeah, just take this right out. You're like, this isn't going very well, Frankie. We
Yeah,
gotta
he didn't want to
talk.
be on the video. He just wanted audio. So I placed a picture of the scream right on there.
I mean, I don't mind catching the video. It's for me, it's editing. As long as you're the one editing, you go nuts.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, I edited the first 170 episodes, so I don't have any problem with that. But
You get the patience of a saint.
I'm finding better ways and quicker ways to do it. Yeah, that was a great piece of advice. Apart from that, I really appreciate it. Okay, everyone, everything will be linked down below. If you want to get in touch with Frankie, I think he will allow us to leave his email down below and contact him.
Absolutely.
Okay, everyone, Franky Corcoran and Corcoran. That's a tongue twister.
Another blooper.
Beep. Take two. Okay, everyone. Franky Corcoran from Corcoran Entertainment out.